Welcome back to your mat. Here's 5 daily yoga poses that you might like to try when you're short on time, or perhaps you just really don't want to be led through a practice. We're going to start on all fours on our hands and our knees. So this is more of a dynamic pose rather than a still pose. We're going to head into cat-cow to begin with. So shoulders roughly stacked on top of those wrists and hips roughly stacked on top of the knees, knees roughly hip width. Go ahead and drop the belly, lift the heart, lift the tailbone, take an inhale. And then round the spine as you exhale through to your cat pose or scared cat. And then back into your cow, dropping the belly, lifting the heart. You might like to close the eyes. You might like to open the mouth and let the exhales out through the mouth. I'm going to offer a few different variations here, turning it into what I like to refer to as a funky cat-cow. Maybe you'd like to take a bit of a wagtail, looking over one shoulder towards the back, and then swaying the hips and the shoulders the opposite direction, looking back once again. So just moving how it feels good for you to move. You might be in that first variation or into this second variation. And then finally, just really moving freely, however it feels good to move, not having to be perfectly symmetrical. You might even really sway the hips back through the heels. You might even walk the hands a little further forwards and really let the hips rotate down to one side and the other. You might choose to linger for at least a breath somewhere that just feels juicy, opening, good on your body this morning or this evening, whatever time of day it is that you are practicing. And then from here, walk the hands further forwards. We're going to head down through the hips and onto our forearms into Sphinx pose. Now, you might just see how it feels to bring the elbows roughly under the shoulders, and do check in with the lower back here. So if you're finding any pinching at all, perhaps widen the elbows and let the heart be a little bit lower. You might even grab a pillow or a cushion and wedge that in to give a little bit of relief if that's needed or useful. Checking in with those legs. I have the feet a good hip width apart. Let the legs relax, the feet relax. And then choose where you might like to bring your head. It could be dropping down and forwards, opening through the back of the neck, if that feels comfortable. Or perhaps the head is more upright and lifted. At this point, I'm choosing to close my eyes, and I'm going to take 3 to 5 rounds of breath. And just finishing off your next round of breath, and then start to push your way back in towards your heels. So walking the hands back, heading towards child's pose. I like to widen the knees, bring the feet a little closer together, and then maybe you're resting your forehead on the back of the hands. Perhaps again you have a cushion or a pillow placed along the belly.
You might have the arms reaching further forwards, but being as relaxed as possible through the shoulders. So keeping the hands wide-ish can be helpful for any discomfort in the shoulders. If you have chosen to keep the knees closer together, you might have the arms resting beside the legs with the fingers trailing back towards the feet and the back edge of your mat. Because I have the knees wide, I've got lots of lovely room between the thighs for the belly to expand as I inhale and soften as I exhale. Come back towards your breath. Let your hips, your heart, your head, your shoulders be heavy and grounded. And then from here, we're going to lift ourselves back up onto all fours. Hands and knees to the earth. Go ahead and bring your right knee forwards and try to place that knee somewhere behind that right wrist. I now want to tuck the back toes and just hover the left knee enough that I can swivel my right foot over towards the left. We're heading into Pigeon Pose. I'm just going to come a little further forwards onto my mat. So in Pigeon Pose, we want to see if we can keep the hips relatively level. So it might be that we need to adjust where we bring our right foot in this pose. I will give you one other option if we can't get into this pose today in just a moment. So I'm going to just wiggle my left foot further back, let my hips drop a little bit lower. And then I want to see whether I feel like I've got a bit more room, and I might just explore bringing my right ankle a little further forwards. And that might mean that I end up dropping down through one hip. We want to try to avoid that. As I mentioned before, we're trying to keep the hips level. I'm going to drop down onto forearms. So it could be that you keep that right ankle tucked right in, close towards the center and the groin. Or perhaps you have that right foot a little further out and forwards towards the left side. Some of you might choose to bring a cushion or a prop underneath the right hip. And some of you might even feel like you could drop lower by bringing the elbows wider. So just giving you the other option in case pigeon is not obtainable, perhaps deer pose is your option today. And I've just brought my legs into what looks like a letter S shape or a stag shape. And I'm coming over my right shin, not my right knee, my right shin. Just heading back towards pigeon. Let's stay there for another 3 to 5 breaths on this side. And if you're still there, just taking one more full round of breath, let the exhale go, and then slowly lift your way up. You might like to come onto all fours again or downward facing dog, your choice. And then we're going to bring the left knee forwards behind the left wrist, and we're setting up for that second side. So again, it might be that having props underneath that left hip could be helpful. Maybe you're into your deer pose, but take your time setting yourself up. Don't expect this side to be identical to that first side. It might be that you need a little more adjustment or a little less adjustment here. Take a few moments to wiggle in, find your posture. just going to demo once again deer pose as that alternative. So I've dropped down onto my left hip and brought the back knee in, creating that letter S shape with the legs. And then I'm trying to come forwards over the left shin. It could be that you're a whole lot higher. Let's go ahead and stay for at least 3 to 5 more breaths if you can. I'm just taking one more full round of breath. And slowly lifting your way up. It could be that you'd like to head back to a little cat-cow. I'm just going to roll onto my left hip and swing both legs forwards. Do go ahead and come and meet me onto your spine. At this point, we are setting up for our final pose, our 5th pose of today, Savasana. If you would prefer, you could have soles of feet together, knees wide. Maybe you have the feet to the earth, the knees gently TP'd together upwards. See if you can align the spine in a nice long straight line, and then let those shoulders melt down towards the earth. Try to stay as present as you can, at least with the first 3 rounds of breath. And if you find that the mind really wanders, you could always come back to gently counting whenever you need that moment to realign your thoughts to now. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like Tula being free and accessible to all.